today I'm going to be talking about my favorite eyeshadow palettes for grunge inspired looks, or the kind of grunge looks I do on my channel. If you are here to give me a lecture on what is grunge, then calm your tits. This is not one of those videos. So you can like go over to a grunge forum where you guys talk about what you guys think grunge is, and that's totally cool. But here we're just talking about looks that we like and are inspired by. So we're not being judgy here. Anyways, we're just gonna jump into this because I have quite a few palettes to talk about. So the first palette I really love for grunge looks is the Kat Von D Shade and Light Eye palette. And the reason I really love this palette is because it is basically a bunch of grunge looks in one palette. I think a lot of times what we think of when we think of grunge inspired looks is more of like that rusty tone, the red tones, a lot of tones like that, or some of us may even think black or super smoked out. And this palette has all of that, which is why I really love it. Basically, this whole palette is kind of working for you. It's kind of divided up into different kind of color schemes, I guess. Over here you have warm reddish tones. In the center you have a lot of cool tones, and then over here you have more brownish on the brown beigey kind of side, which all of them are super great. And then you can kind of just mix and match and create whatever you want, which is kind of what I do, I'm not gonna lie. Up here you have some transition shades, which is nice because you can kind of like knock that out. You don't have to search the whole palette for a transition shade, which I really love. Another reason I love this palette is sometimes when you get warmer tone palettes, you don't get a black shade. And in here you get a black shade and a grayish type of shade, and then a darker grayish brown shade as well. If you love creamy shadows and you really want some pigmented shadows, these are really, really great, and I love this palette. But this is my first pick for an eyeshadow palette that I like to create grunge looks with. Moving on. The next palette I'm gonna mention is the Morphe 350 palette, which has been all over the interwebs lately. And this is like the dirtiest palette, but I'm not embarrassed because I don't know, it's just my life. I mean, I don't really have to say anything. As soon as I open it, you can see that there's a ton of warm tones in here. So you can really create any sort of those red or orange looking grungy type of looks. The only thing it doesn't have is a black shade, which I'm kind of like bummed out about, but otherwise there is not one other shadow that you're gonna need in here. I'm gonna be honest with you, when I first bought it, I was a little unsure if I was good at blending these shadows out. So it's no secret, I do have a heavy hand. I try not to. I try to be better and like really patient. You just have to be kind of gentle with these shadows. Same with the Kat Von D ones, but these are a little bit different consistency. So just take your time with these shadows and you'll really enjoy them, I think. At least that's what I did. As soon as I really knew how to work with these shadows, I fell in love with them. And I think you will too. So a couple of my favorite shadows in this palette is this red shade here, which is like a shimmery red shade, which I love. This is more of a rustier red color, but I love using it in combination with this red for a Frances Bean Cobain kind of red smoky eye look. A couple of the other eyeshadows I'm obsessed with in this palette, these two here, love, love, love those. They really go with any look. This shade is a really great transition shade. Actually, any of these shades are great transition shades. Also, really dig this one over here. This little trio of dark shades here are probably my favorite to smoke out any of the looks I create with this palette. Love this palette. So affordable for all that you get. It's so worth it. Love this palette. I just kind of talked about more warmer tone red colors or rustier type of colors. I kind of like the purplish, dark purplish burgundy red as well. And that's where this palette comes in. This is the Lunatic Cosmetics Labs Supernatural palette. This is fairly new to my collection, but it was like love at first application and sight and everything in between. So this is more of like the mauve tones, pinky tones, rosy, almost burgundy, purpley, all of that in one type of tones. So I kind of talked about some shadows before that have some trouble blending, you know what I mean? And this is not one of those palettes. These go on really nicely. You can layer them on and it looks really nice. It doesn't get patchy, it doesn't get muddy, but this shade is what it's all about to me because it's that burgundy color. It's like that reddish tone. I just need all the red tones in my life. So I mostly use this shade as a transition shade since this one's a little bit more on the shimmery side. And this pale, super pale pink, it almost looks white, but it's like a super duper pale pink. But this one actually is really beautiful as a pale chick on my lid and on my brow bone. It doesn't come off as like, it doesn't look, you know, like a light pink in the pan and then show up just like straight pink. Normally I have to use just straight white on my brow bone, but this one is really nice where I don't have to do that. And then this shade right here is a darker mauve type shade, and it looks so much lighter in the pan then it goes on, which I actually love. This guy was dark enough to use in the outer corner and a little into the crease. I didn't know if it'd be dark enough to really show up next to this guy, and it is. This is getting an A+ for me. So I feel like I can't do a grunge eyeshadow palette video without mentioning the Lime Crime Venus palettes. I have both Venus 1 and 2, and I wanted to mention both of them because I think they both have a ton to offer. But anyways, I'm gonna start with the Venus 1. And the Venus 1 palette is a dream come true. I did a Valentine's Day tutorial using this palette, and let me just say these shadows are some of the easiest shadows I think I've ever worked with. If you've been doing makeup forever, these are gonna make your life so much easier. You're just gonna be like, oh, man, this is so effortless. But if you are a beginner, the reason I love this is because sometimes when you're a beginner and you watch eyeshadow tutorials and then you try it, you're like, how did my eyes not turn out? I took every step exactly the same. I don't know, the outcome could be completely different. And with these, I feel like it's kind of foolproof. I would tell you my favorite eyeshadows in this palette, if it weren't all of them, because it's all of them. You have some pinky shades here, if you're going for a pinky look. Like there's a photo shoot that Courtney Love did where she has flowers in her hair and has this pink eyeshadow situation happening. I'm in love with it. These pinky shades would duplicate that look perfectly. You have a rusty kind of red tone here, and then one of those true kind of red shades here, a mauve shade, a brown, I don't know, and then you have this white shimmery shade for an inner corner highlight. Like you have everything you need in this palette, which is why I love it so much. But if you're not into the reddish pink whole thing, which I've read in some of my comments that some of you guys are into the pinky red thing, you're willing to give it a shot, but it's not your favorite, well, Venus 2 might be better off for you. They were having a sale where you could get both of these and like as a bundle, and it was super cheap in comparison to getting them separately. So yeah, you might look into that. I don't know if they still have that going on, but hi. I don't even know if the Venus 2 is considered grunge palette, but I'm putting it in this video because it does have what you like, the classic kind of grunge shades that you think about. And then they have some green, like army green shades and blue shades that you can throw in there and create your own twist on a grunge look. You know what I mean? So here we go. They have this sky blue color, which just gives me so many like late 90s, early 2000 vibes. I love it. I love this color, and the pigment is no joke. But you also have your traditional, when I think of traditional, I guess, grunge, traditional grunge. That just is not even, that's like an oxymoron, but you have your, you know, when you think of grunge looks, you have some of those in here as well. So you have an orange, you have a rusty red color. This one is more on the pink and red side, where this one is kind of like whatever your heart desires, girl, go for it. So I really love that this is a little bit more of a daring palette. They do have a black glittery shade in this one. So if you're like, I'm not getting it unless it has a black shade in it, then this is more of a shimmery shade, but it is really nice. So I don't know, both of these I would consider really good grunge palettes. So the next palette I'm gonna mention is not really like a palette you can buy like as a whole palette, but you can build your own. These are Makeup Geek shadows, if you guys have heard of them. They are amazing shadows. Basically, everyone rants and raves on the interwebs about them. These are amazing, amazing, amazing shadows for beginners because they are so easy to blend, and they're super pigmented and they're super beautiful, and everybody's in love with them, and I know why. I'm on the bandwagon. I love them too. I believe they're like $6 per pan, which isn't bad, and then you just pick the colors that you want and make your own palette. So I kind of see it as, you know, sometimes when you buy a palette and there's a couple shades that you're like, I will never use those. This doesn't allow that to happen. You only buy the shadows that you want, you know what I mean? And then you make your own palette. And this is a Z palette. If you guys haven't heard about them, they're just like little magnetic palettes that you buy. You can get them on the Makeup Geek website. And then you just buy the pans, and they already have magnetic stuff in them, and you just put them in there and it sticks in there. Anyways, I'm actually wearing the Makeup Geek shadows today. Right now I'm wearing the shade Americano as my darker shade, and I thought the shade was gonna be a little bit more brown, and it's actually more of a burgundy brown. It's quickly become one of my favorite shadows. Another one I really love is this Cherry Cola shade, which is like a dark red. It's just a little bit more red and a little bit lighter than the Americano shade. Really love that. I'm also wearing that. I'm also wearing this shade here, which I don't even know what this is called. It's called Country Girl. It is the perfect like rosy, but it's shimmery. It's like rosy mauve shade with rose mauve. It's mauve rose. Basically my favorite ones for grunge looks though are gonna be in this area here. We have Bitten, Cherry Cola, and Americano right next to each other. So any of that reddish brown shades. This one right here, which is a brown rusty type of shade called Cocoa Bear. That one is also really nice for a grunge type of look if you're going for more of the brown rusty look rather than the red or purpley kind of shades or smoky eye or whatever you want to call it. I don't know. So I'm gonna mention a drugstore product that I've used in a grunge series video before. Some people say that this isn't drugstore, but you can get NYX in drugstores or at least Target, which is like a drugstore to me anyways, but yeah, that's where you can get it. But this is the NYX Love in Paris palette in the name, not shade, the name Merci Beaucoup. And I'm taking French, but I'm still not very good at it. So my apologies to my French friends out there. Some shades are better than others in this palette, but definitely the superstars I would say are this red shade, I'm so predictable, and this pinky shade here, and then this dark brown shade. You can create some really great grunge style looks with this palette. Another reason I really love it, even though this is like a grunge palette video, I really love this for every day too. If you're not somebody who does a grunge type of look every single day, and you just want something too that has some lighter shades for more natural looks, or when you go to school and you just want to like swipe some of this shimmery shade over your lid, totally get it. So I really love these. So I think that is it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video on my favorite palettes for grunge type of looks. If you did, you can give it a thumbs up, say hey girl hey in the comments box. Also, if you want to leave your favorite grunge type of palette or palette that you use to create grunge looks, leave those down in the comments box because you know I want to try it. Or if you have any other questions, just leave those down below as well. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching and I will see you guys next time.